The Civil War was not really about slavery. It was about states' rights. It was like a lot.
Oh my God. The Civil War was specifically about slavery. If you read any Southern states' articles of secession saying why we are leaving the United States and why we want to create a Confederate States of America, they make it very clear we are leaving because of slavery. The vice president of the Confederacy wrote an entire speech about how proud he was of the fact that the Confederate States of America was going to be the only nation in the world that acknowledged the superiority of the white man over the black man.
Irish people were slaves. Jewish people were slaves.
Irish people were not slaves in America at all. Irish people were indentured servants who served a period of time of labor in America and eventually were free to go. Black people were slaves from the day that they were born to the day that they died.
From history books that were written by certain types of people, they lie in history a lot.
Man, every day Sneako shows more and more to new content creators what not to do. And it really sucks because Sneako, from what I've heard, he's a cool dude behind the scenes. But Sneako is just like, what's going on with bro? So Sneako's on live with Aiden Ross and academics. And Sneako's arguing that people shouldn't only look at the bad that Hitler did and instead should look at some other things as well, which, I mean, there's a way to preface that argument, but he then goes on to say we need to look into who's telling us all these negative things about Hitler. Who are the ones telling us about this? And I'm going to tell y'all why Sneako's argument, because I know a lot of y'all, for some reason, a lot of y'all are anti-Semitic. A lot of y'all like fuck with the anti-Semitic shit. Which is weird because most of my viewers are black, and I'm sure y'all don't fuck with anti-black racism. But for some reason, a lot of y'all niggas in the hip-hop community and shit like that and WL community are very anti-Semitic. But hopefully, maybe I can give y'all some perspective on why Sneako is incorrect. But let's watch the video and let's just take it step by step.
A horrible person based on what you know about him. So a net sum. Is it positive as in, oh no, he did good, or wow, he did a lot of fucked up shit? I say he did a lot of fucked up shit. What do you say?
Of course, I think he did a lot of fucked up shit, but you got to look at who is telling us these stories and who is telling us what went on. Like in the West, Obama is seen as a really good person, but in Libya, they think that he brought slavery back. They see him as a war criminal. A lot of people aren't even aware about that because of who's pushing the narrative.
Sneako.
See, here's the thing, right? Sneako is correct in the sense that, you know, one person's hero is another person's villain. That is true. However, there is a stark contrast between an elected official that makes difficult decisions for the sake of the nation's geopolitical hegemony and dominance, and an individual who decides to corral his own citizens, 6 million of them, of his own nation and surrounding nations, and just genocide them all. There is a stark contrast. There is a difference between targeted attacks, geopolitical targeted attacks against enemy agencies or terrorist organizations across the globe, and actively trying to wipe out an entire group of people. There is a stark contrast. So of course, people in the Middle East are going to view George Bush and Obama as like the biggest monsters ever, and understandably so. They both flipped the worlds of those people upside down. However, an active genocide and a war are not the same. They're not the same in any capacity. To try to compare Obama or Bush to Adolf Hitler is absolutely it's not the same. It's not even the same argument at all. However, though, I will say that it is understandable why an Iraqi citizen or a citizen of any Middle Eastern country that was affected by Western geopolitical decisions, I could completely understand why they would view our presidents as evil. However, when we start talking about Hitler, when we start talking about that realm of Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Obama and Bush don't even come, especially not Obama. Bush, he's got some serious war crimes under his belt. However, you know, Obama, comparing him or Bush to Trump, comparing him or Bush to Mao, Stalin, Adolf, it's just unrealistic.
What if it was flip, chat? I see the background. What if it was flipped? Just sail by.
What if it was flip, chat?
What are you talking about, Libya, my nigga?
What if I said the KKK?
You know what I'm saying?
Chat, what if I said the KKK creator?
Perspectives. You're right.
Real quick.
Obviously.
What if I said the KKK creator? Fucking, he did all that shit, but nobody talks about the KKK creator created fucking sandwiches or some shit. Like it's justified, bro. It's wrong. He's not.
Aiden's got a point about that, right? Like, a lot of y'all are going to sit there in the comment section and say, oh, well, you know, Sneako's right. Hitler did da 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 da. Not just da 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 da. A lot of y'all would not extend members of the Ku Klux Klan who terrorized our ancestors. Y'all would not give them the same mercy of, oh well, Nathan. Nathan Bedford Forrest. He was one of the founding members of the Ku Klux Klan, but he did some other things. Like, bro, you would never extend that grace. So why do some of y'all extend that grace to Hitler? I genuinely don't understand why y'all can't comprehend why people see Hitler as a net negative. Are there some things that World War II Germany did in terms of technology, in terms of turning around the German economy, that one could view as a positive? Of course. But we also got to keep in mind, even the act of turning around Germany's economy, it depended upon what's part of why they started a war, was to be able to sustain and stabilize the German economy over a long period of time. Because the German economy wasn't just booming, it didn't boom like the American economy off of pure exchange of goods. We sold a shit ton of weapons and ammunition. The Germans were basically like printing money. It's not even close to being the same.
Not right.
All right. Except you're trying to do this twisted form of trying to normalize, or maybe not normalize, let me not put words in your mouth, but you're trying to say, well, to some people, Hitler wasn't bad.
You're just saying a bunch of stuff that I never said. You talk about moving the goalposts. I'm just questioning, why is he the one person that is seen as the most evil person of all time, when there's a lot of people that have done evil things and they're never seen in that category, and you could look at the positive things that they have done. He is the one person that you have to say, he was horrible, he was terrible, he's irredeemable. And then
So here's the thing, though. No one is looking at Stalin or Mao and saying, wow, these guys are only really cringy, chronically online, weird, far left weirdos glorify any of these crazy dictators in Russia or China or anything like that. Sneako is trying to run away from the fact that on some level, he does seem to have an issue with people demonizing Hitler. For some reason, he has an issue with people demonizing Hitler. And as a result, he wants to shift the blame. But what about Stalin? What about Mao? What about whatever? The reality of the situation is there's always going to be that one guy that gets all of the flack. It's just the way it is. It doesn't mean that all the other guys are cool, or that we like Stalin or we like Mao. It doesn't mean that we're cool with it. It doesn't mean that anyone in the West is in favor of any of these things. I mean, look at how much of a hate boner the U.S. had for communism. We hated communism. We absolutely despised communism for so long, even though Hitler, if I recall correctly, was a nationalist socialist, not a communist. And yet we had the biggest hate boner ever for communism. So it's like the idea that we're all shitting on Hitler, but we're all, dapping up Stalin and Mao in the afterlife. It's just stop. Sneako, this is absolute cap.
You can have this conversation, and then people get really triggered. Like Aiden's, you're muting the mic and talking to this chat.
It's not right.
You're not able to talk about this without getting extremely offended.
Because you're not Jewish, are you?
What, bro? Sneako is so out of touch. Of course, people who are Jewish are going to be offended by you taking the person who made it his life mission to wipe out not just random. Hitler wasn't just trying to kill Jewish people that were a political thorn in his side. Hitler made it his mission to murder children, to murder babies, to murder innocent women, to murder people he had never even met in his fucking life, who never did anything to him or Germany. He made it his life's mission to murder innocent children. I don't know how people can sit there and condemn mass shooters who shoot up schools of children, but then sit there and say, Hitler was on to something. Bro, obviously there are some things that Nazi Germany did technologically and economically for Germany that were positives. We can sit there and analyze that and say, you know what, that was actually smart. Or we can sit there and analyze that, but we also have to keep in mind that we can't then use these positive occurrences to try to justify killing 6 million folk. Let's not go there. We could be nuanced enough to say, you know what, okay, Germany did this or that and third in that era that was actually technologically pretty savvy. We can sit there and appreciate that without trying to justify genocide. It's possible. But Sneako doesn't want to do that. He wants to try to wiggle his way in between both. No, either Hitler did some smart things and did evil things and leave it at that, or say what you're really trying to say, which is justify the evil shit Hitler did. And Sneako doesn't want to completely come out the closet and admit.
But what does that have to do with the? See, you see the identity politics act. Like, if you even talk about it, people are like, "I'm Jewish. I can't have this conversation." You should be able to have to talk about it without putting these. Like, it's just a conversation. I'm not saying he's a good person.
No, Sneako. It matters because a lot of people who debate for the purpose of debating, they never understand the hurt and the pain. It's like a lot of white people talking about slavery, and that basically say, "Hey, get over it. We're in 2023," when obviously people who are still feeling the remnants and actually the ramifications of what slavery did to not only their community and also their family and also their lineage.
Sneako is
it's
not
gonna be a little
right,
bit
you
more than
idiots.
just, hey, listen, let's just talk about, this is not identity politics at that point. You're talking about people who might.
It is identity politics.
Because y'all are not understanding.
This, bro, Sneako is so slow, it's crazy. These topics are extremely identity charged. We're talking about incidents where entire groups of people on the base of their identity were either A, genocided, or B, forced to work on plantations from the day they were born as an infant to the day they fucking died as an old man or woman. And you're gonna sit there and say, it's just identity politics. Only bruh. Like, only somebody who's completely ethnically and racially disconnected from both the Holocaust and slavery could sit there and say some stupid shit like, it's identity politics. Well, like, of course it is on some level. You're talking about two incidents that are completely tied to identity. The Civil War, Lord have mercy. Let me stop pausing this shit.
When you're talking to someone who might
if my
have
mom was in the stream, she would
descendants
cry.
that
Y'all are
may
not
have
understanding
been
perspective, bro.
tortured
It doesn't
because
matter
of what you're talking about. If you're
Sneako's
talking about it
family.
in a,
Bro, y'all are not talking about perspective.
we're just
bro.
having
If
a
it was
discourse
flipped,
of opinions.
and
type
it was
shit.
another race
But
that you guys are race or your background, it would be a different story for all y'all. I know it,
These
bro.
ancestors.
Stop
If
being
you're not
fucking
able to
weird.
have a debate because of your ancestors, then like that's holding back a lot of conversations.
Sneako, that's like me saying,
Hold on.
yo, I never met none of my ancestors that was slaves, so why the fuck I give a fuck about slavery? Brother, you sounding crazy right now.
There's a difference between giving a fuck about slavery and being able to talk about slavery. You can be able to talk about it without saying, I'm offended because
What does Sneako mean by being able to talk about slavery? Sneako, you're trying to sit there and find the positive in Hitler. You are trying to find the positive, if we're going to be honest, you're trying to find the positive in atrocities. Because you can easily sit there and say, Hitler did this for the German economy. The Nazis did this technologically. The Nazis did that technically. You can sit there and talk about how cool the helmets are from World War II Germany. You can sit there and talk about how cool the Nazi German helmets are. You can talk about the technological military innovations of World War II by Nazi Germany. You can talk about that without trying to sit there and kind of say, those helmets, those Nazi helmets was kind of fly. I ain't gonna lie. I think Hitler was honest. Like, bro, like, we can see where you're trying to go by saying the Nazi helmets were fly. Like, we can see where you're trying to take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're trying to sit there and say, yeah, slavery was bad, but that's what you're trying to do. We can sit there and talk objectively about some of the economic pros of slavery, free labor, XYZ, but we cannot sit there and try to use the cold, hard facts of what might have been economically beneficial for the slave masters and then try to justify the act of enslaving an entire race of people.
my ancestors, like it's a discussion. Slavery still happens now. A lot of different ethnicities were enslaved.
I don't think he's shutting down because he's not willing to talk about it. He's shutting down because you're not empathizing with maybe the effects of what that did to people like him. Just like
Same thing with me. I have ancestors like my grandfather, for example, was possibly in a work camp. My grandfather from Europe was possibly like we're finding stuff out about that. And I'm able to have this conversation without getting extremely offended because I never met this person. My grandfather, we should be able to have these conversations without getting like, oh, I'm Jewish, I'm black, so slavery's the worst thing ever. I'm Jewish, so the Holocaust is the worst thing ever. Like,
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I get what you're saying. I do.
What point did I really make in this debate? You guys got really angry. What did I say?
I got mad when you said nobody talks about Hitler. You said Hitler's the most evil man. Nobody talks about how Hitler tried to bring back Germany or some shit like that. Brought Germany back. That's where I got really upset with you.
And you talk about perspective. Like, your whole point is perspective right now. Can't you try to empathize with the fact that he saw his country. Hold on. You didn't even let me finish. How a World War I soldier saw his country crumble in real time. They saw the Treaty of Paris and how the rest of Europe screwed over Germany. And this guy's extremely angry and he wants to mobilize Germany. If you want to talk about perspective, that's the guy who saw his country get crumbled and he wanted to bring it back. There's a perspective that people should be able to empathize with. Does that justify the Holocaust? Absolutely not. But this is a conversation that people are not able to talk about.
I don't think people aren't allowed to talk about it. It's just that the people who talk about Germany and Hitler in that perspective usually go from, well, you know, Hitler brought back Germany's economy and da-da-da-da-da, you know, because there was a certain group trying to destroy Germany and Hitler then realized who they were. And then, bro, the people who talk about all the good Hitler did, the reason why people usually start to raise their eyebrows when that conversation starts is because it inevitably turns into trying to justify the Holocaust almost every single time. You can talk about Hitler bringing back the Germany's, like, no one's going to get in trouble for that. I'm sure Joe Rogan probably talked about it before. No one got on his ass because Joe Rogan's not a Holocaust denier. Sneako actively communicates and works with Holocaust deniers like Nick Fuentes and others. When you start trying to take the conversation in that direction, understandably, people look at you a little bit weird. And Sneako's trying to say, well, why can't we just talk about it? Bro, we know what direction you're trying to take the conversation in. And if you want to take it there, I'm all for free speech. Y'all know how I am on this channel. I'm all for free speech. But let's not sit there and act like purposefully obtuse, okay?
But why have that conversation? What's the point? What is the point of this? Are you going back in time? Do you want to get Hitler's flowers?
To break the Overton window, because we talk about like the benefits of Ye-24. Ye was the first person to say like, okay, let's actually look about this. We immediately shut out these conversations, and then we're able to not even question history and not question a possible narrative that might have been sold to us in schools from history books that were written by certain types of people. They lie in history a lot.
Who's lying in history? Who's they? You see what I'm saying, bro? You see where the argument leads? It leads to the Jews made up XYZ story about Hitler to do XYZ. And the cycle begins again of suspecting the Jews of conspiring to do some crazy shit. And then another Holocaust eventually. This is how it goes every single time. And it's like Sneako immediately fell for his own. He literally, you know, just 5 seconds ago I said, you know, Sneako is going to segue the conversation into saying that the Jews are behind blah, 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 blah. You see how we just did it? Like, bro, we can talk about the Jews being overrepresented in positions of power in the West because it's not a lie. And unfortunately, here's the thing about people who try to silence that conversation. When you try to silence the conversation about Jews having a disproportionate amount of representation in high positions of power in the record industry, the movie industry, all of these different industries, when you try to silence that conversation, you only reaffirm the conspiracy theories of anti-Semites. We have to have that conversation without, you know, people being canceled. But this whole conversation of, you know, Hitler was an entirely bad guy, we know where that leads. We know where that goes. It's like Sneako acts purposefully obtuse. And it's like, bro, we know what you're trying to do.
Respectfully, and even with, you know, Kanye speaking on, like, the Holocaust like that, like, I mean, maybe, I don't know how he feels about slavery, but it's like, there's a lot of families who, you know, their whole lineage has been devastated by that. They wouldn't just allow someone that was not even black to speak about slavery and just kind of impose what, like, you have Kanye talking about, oh yeah, let's forget all that. Let's just talk about the Holocaust, like, in a different, bro, come on, bro. Like, you understand what
I didn't even say that. You're just putting words into my mouth because people are, this is the point. I'm just trying to call out the programming. You even talk about this. You even say like, hey, maybe we should look at Hitler's perspective when we talk about perspective. You even say that and people get so angry. People are so adamant to defend this thing. If you talk about slavery around a lot of black people, they're like, my ancestors were enslaved. Well, so were Irish people were slaves. Jewish people were slaves.
Irish people were not slaves in America at all. Irish people were indentured servants who served a period of time of labor in America and eventually were free to go. However many years you were set to serve, it was documented, contracted. Once you were done with your time, you were free to become a normal citizen of the United States like anyone else. Black people were slaves from the day that they were born to the day that they died. Misinformation. But I don't believe in censorship, but that is not true.
slaves right now in Libya.
Sure.
You can argue that the people in China are slaves, but do people get that? Why don't the Chinese people get so mad about, like, when people make jokes about the iPhones and people jumping off the roof? You don't see Chinese people and Asian people be like, but the kids in China, they don't do that because it's not pushed. It's not pushed in the books. We are not sold a specific narrative. That is the programming, and that's why I'm glad that he was able to talk about that, because he shifted the conversation.
Programming. Oh, Sneako, how slow are you? People don't give a fuck about that in America because we're in America. We are in the United States. We do not live in China. We live in the United States where slavery occurred, where Jim Crow occurred. Black Americans weren't even full, proper citizens until the 1960s. Black Americans weren't able to access the full benefits of being an American until the 1960s. And you're going to sit there and talk about a narrative being pushed? We could talk about narratives, because after the Civil War, the South pushed this ridiculous narrative about the war of aggression and how the North waged war on the South and ruined the South and oppressed the South, and slaves and slave masters got along just fine, and, you know, the North came in and ruined it for everybody. We could talk about narratives. We could talk about narratives, bro. Sneako is just repeating whatever, and this is my issue with people like Sneako and Candace Owens, is that this idea of being a contrarian all day fucking long. All you want to do is be this contrarian all fucking day. You want to disagree with this, disagree with that. This is the problem with being this ultra contrarian. You end up disagreeing with shit that doesn't need to be disagreed with. Like, for example, Candace Owens comes out and says, you know, I'm not going to be celebrating Juneteenth this year because I'm an American. I'm going to be celebrating the 4th of July. Because she always has to be a contrarian to anything that liberals or black people or Democrats do. So you're going to sit there and spit in the face of a holiday that's been celebrated for a while now. You're going to spit in the face of a holiday dedicated to celebrating the freedom of slaves. We live in a nation that celebrates freedom. Every Under Armour American flag shirt I see that says freedom on, apparently we love freedom in America, and yet you're going to sit there and spit in the face of a holiday dedicated to celebrating freedom in favor of the 4th of July because you want to be a contrarian. So you're spitting in the face of freedom just so you can stick it to the libtards and stick it to the Democrats, and, like, what's going on? Trying to be the ultimate contrarian is so unnecessary. There's reasons why we as the West agree that Hitler was a dickhead. There's a reason why we as the West agree that slavery was fuck. There's a reason why we've come to the conclusions that we've come to. There's nothing wrong with questioning shit, but don't be surprised when your questioning is fucking stupid and people sit there and have to break down to you why you're wrong. Like, I'm not against Sneako saying what he's saying. But what I am saying is you're fucking wrong. That's the difference between me and all these other fucking liberals. Is I'm not going to sit there and say, cancel Sneako because he said some shit that I don't like. I'm not going to sit there and try to get Sneako canceled, but I would love to debate Sneako and go back and forth with him. I don't believe in cancellation, but I do believe in arguments.
For so long, he's the most evil person ever. He's the most evil person ever. Well, is he? Were there people that killed more people? Were there genocides that happened in other countries that we don't talk about as much? Why is this the one thing that we are focused on so much in U.S. history and not about other evil dictators? That's the whole point. It's not me trying to...
Well, maybe because Hitler was the actual enemy. We literally worked with Russia in World War II to defeat the Germans. Like, Hitler started the worst war in human history. He didn't commit the biggest genocide, but he definitely started the worst war ever. Like, what the fuck? Sneako, what's going on?
Defend. It's not me trying to go and champion. You made it seem like I'm trying to celebrate. I never even said that. I'm just saying it's good to think about things in a different way because maybe we were sold a specific narrative.
A straight question, and you struggle to answer. I said, was Hitler a net positive or was he an evil person?
I don't think he was a good person, no.
So you agree that he was a piece of shit?
Why are you trying to get me to say the same thing that everybody else is saying?
You see what I said about this contrarian shit? You see what I said? You see what I'm saying? He doesn't want to agree that Hitler was a piece of shit. Some of y'all are going to sit here and disagree with me, and yet y'all will get mad at a school shooter for killing like 6 kids. How can a nigga kill like millions of kids and y'all sit there and say, you know what, he might have been onto something, but when a school shooter kills 6 kids in a school, y'all niggas start crying. Like, what's going on? Like, how is it different? How is this nigga killing 6 million children, well, 6 million people, including millions of children, all of a sudden, you know, maybe he was on to something. But when a school shooter shoots up a fucking Christian school in Tennessee, y'all are crying, y'all are upset. Both are evil. Is it the number? Like, I'm trying to understand why people have a hard time grasping how Hitler's a massive piece of shit. I'm sure we've all dreamed about, you know, having massive smoke with somebody or a group of people or whatever. But damn, to put together an entire, like, network of concentration camps and kill off millions of people because you just don't like their ethnicity, that's, like, just, you're a piece of shit. Like, bro, like, it's just like, bro, how many trifling ass niggas do y'all know in your personal lives that just do shit that pisses y'all off? You're like, but that person's an evil, wicked motherfucker. Now imagine if that person killed 6 million people for no other reason than just because. Like, is that not even more evil? I'm just saying.
No. Bro.
What? He is a piece of shit. Do you agree?
Yo,
I don't think he was a good person, man. I do not. I think he was.
Why can he not just say he was a piece of shit? Why does Sneako have to dance around this? You can talk about the good things that Hitler might have done before starting a war and killing a bunch of innocent people. You could talk about that while still agreeing that he was a piece of shit. You could be a piece of shit and accomplish some positive things in life. It's possible.
He was anti-Semitic, of course. I think that he was a total dictator. I think he was egotistical. I don't think he was a good Christian. I don't think, but
You're being a bitch on these topics. I'm gonna tell you what. Yo, somebody.
I'm not saying he's a piece of shit just like you.
No. Because
I'm gonna end this shit,
when
bro.
you're
I'm actually,
unwilling to admit certain truths
I'm
in the sense
drained,
of,
chat.
yo, somebody might be an asshole, or somebody might have an attitude, or somebody might not be the nicest of guy. But
Y'all
he's not an
please-
evil person. That's not an evil person.
I
I
don't
never
know,
said
Chad,
he
so
wasn't
justified,
an
though.
evil person. But you want me to get that to just agree with this?
You've never said yes.
Like, no,
Is
I'm
he
gonna be
a-
honest. Sneako, like, I could actually see where you're coming, like, getting at, but it's still not even, bro. I'm Jewish, but like, and my people, my family's family, like, you know, ancestors and shit, they went through it. I never even got to experience it. So I'm just saying, we all didn't experience something like that. Like, I mean, for real, you're rolling your eyes and stuff. It's just hurtful. Like, you gotta understand that anyone that's like disagreeing, like, what if
Did I say it's hurtful?
I didn't fuck with how you like, it just came off how you were justifying it.
Okay, but what did I say specifically that hurt your feelings?
I'm gonna be honest. It hurt when you said nobody talks about how Hitler brought Germany back, like, or like was bringing it
That's
back.
hurtful?
Like, it's just kind of justifying it in a way. It just felt like you were justifying it. That's all.
Okay, if you celebrate the founding fathers, are you justifying slavery? Or are you actually looking at the good they did for freedom of speech and the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms? Like, if I wave the American flag, am I celebrating slavery?
It's not even close to being the same. The United States of America was founded with slavery being a part of the society. The founding fathers did have slaves. Here's the difference between the founding fathers and Hitler. The founding fathers did not found the United States on the sole purpose of enslaving black people and killing Native Americans. These things did happen, but that was not the sole purpose of creating the United States of America. Hence why the Native Americans were eventually incorporated into American society and black Americans as well. Nazi Germany was specifically created. It was a massive part of the administration's goal to exterminate every group of people that they found unsightly in their racial science, in their perception of the superior race. That was a strong, they had government programs dedicated to eugenics. The Nazis. So it's like for him to try to sit there and say, well, what about the founding fathers? It's not even close to being the same. It's not. Slavery is evil. Completely evil. I think George Washington was partly evil. If you can own a human being and treat them the way that those individuals treated slaves back then, you have evil inside of you. However, to sit there and say that someone who killed 6 million Jews wasn't a good Christian, but you're not going to sit there and say that they were a piece of shit. It's just like Sneako's running, so he's playing a game with them, and it's so pathetic. It's like, stand on your 10 toes and say what you really feel. You don't feel like Hitler was a bad guy, Sneako. Just spit the facts.
What's the difference?
I actually didn't think of it like that. But you gotta understand.
They're not going to clip that, though. They're not going to clip that when fucking DeZerto tries to call me a Nazi after this debate.
Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery.
Yeah, but not even... See, a lot of history is manipulated by people. Abraham Lincoln didn't care about the slaves. If you actually looked at his speeches and look at what he talked about, the Civil War was not really about slavery. It was about states' rights. It was like a lot...
Oh my God. The Civil War was specifically about slavery. If you read any Southern states' articles of confederation, articles of secession, If you read any southern states' articles of secession saying why we are leaving the United States and why we want to create a Confederate States of America, they make it very clear we are leaving because of slavery. Almost every single state. I think maybe one state joined late or some shit. Every single state, if you read the articles of secession, they make it abundantly clear we are leaving because you are a threat to our way of life. We believe, literally, bro, the vice president of the Confederacy wrote an entire speech about how proud he was of the fact that the Confederate States of America was going to be the only nation in the world that acknowledged the superiority of the white man over the black man, and slavery being an inherent just truth of their society. Sneako's just so like, oh my god, bro. I see why he's banned on every platform. He's just stupid. He's just stupid. This nigga, what's going on with you, Sneako?
A lot of people in the North were just as racist as people in the South. Like, if you actually really read into what happened in history, a lot of it is manipulated by a specific narrative, and what they tell us in school is not a lot of times what happened. Abraham Lincoln didn't give a fuck about black people. You think he cared about blacks? Really? You think he cared about slaves? It was about the banks. It was about taxing the South. It's always about money.
It was about keeping the Union together. Abraham Lincoln specifically states that if keeping the slaves in bondage keeps this nation together, I will keep them in bondage. If freeing them keeps this nation together, I will keep them, I will free them. If doing nothing at all, if just whatever keeps this nation together, I will do. However, when he defeated the South, of course he decided, you know what, I'm going to go with what I believe is right, and I'm going to free the slaves. Did he view black people as equal to himself? No. But he did have a desire to free the slaves. But he made it very clear that if, outside of a civil war in which one side has to completely obliterate the other, which is what happened, if not freeing the slaves is what keeps this nation together, then I will not free one single slave. Abraham Lincoln was dedicated to the preservation of the Union. So he is right in the sense that Abraham Lincoln didn't really care about black people, but he's angling it in such a really nasty way. Like, he's not being honest. He's just completely uninformed and just sneaky. No pun intended.
Yeah, see, I don't know my history, bro. That's why I'm getting away from this stuff.
By the way, this is why we need to look into things more, but this is how they prevent
You're
us
not
from...
looking into things more, Sneako. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is the problem. Like, niggas don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The Civil War wasn't even about slavery. It was about taxing the South. What? What? Taxing the South. That's what the Civil War is about. Okay. Because the articles of secession are all about taxes.
Looking into things more because we get so offended before you go look past the wall. I'm trying to tell you, when I say that was that bad, I didn't even...
Yeah, but Sneako, you're doing that red pill bullshit where you say something
I gotta pee, Chad. I gotta pee.
Off-putting to actual
pee.
reasonable conversation. Then you try to bring maybe a point that could be thought about, and then you're like, well, did I trigger you enough? You can't, the first conversation about Hitler, I just think, was absurd.
Go ahead.
If you talk about the founding fathers, I actually think that you might be that, only that point. There is a conversation to be had there, but it's not a conversation that behooves or actually defends Hitler. When you juxtapose that with your defense or you even normalizing Hitler, it's still going to seem ridiculous. But if you just want to go into a conversation about the founding fathers, I think that's separate. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, brother. You're trying to equate
Yeah, I'm just trying to point out how there's a specific narrative that we're all supposed to believe in. We're so emotionally attached to this part of history that most people don't even really know about. And why? It's because we hear so many times, Hitler's evil. Hitler's the most evil person. If I went back in time, I could kill Hitler. And so we start believing these things. We start attaching ourselves emotionally to the subject.
Yes, because it's easy, Sneako. It's easy to dislike somebody that would kill 6 million innocent people that they don't personally fucking know. It's just easy. It's not because people are brainwashed. He's just an easy person to hate because he's one of the biggest dickheads ever. It's just easy to dislike him. It's like people disliking it's not like people you get what I'm trying to say though. 6ix9ine is such a nasty character on the internet. No matter what kind of person he might be off screen, he's just an easy guy to dislike. Which is why when he got jumped, everybody was having a party, even though behind the scenes he might have been a nice guy. But Hitler was just a net negative in general for anybody who was not Aryan. He was a dickhead. That's why people so easily sit there and say, I would go back in time and kill Hitler. Because it's just an easy fucking critique. He killed 6 million innocent people. It's just an easy layup. Like it's not indicative of some deeper brainwashing like narrative. It's just an easy target. Why are you not able to see that, Sneako?
Without looking really deeply into it and without comparing other figureheads in history. That's the point. I'm just trying. It's not red pill bullshit. It's just trying to point out the fact that a lot of us are programmed and we don't even realize it. This is a good test to how people are programmed.
Sneako, let me ask you this question. What's your overall goal? Because sometimes I watch you spew some of this narrative and I'm like, it doesn't help you. Definitely doesn't help you financially. It doesn't help you gain more allies. Or
I care about truth. I genuinely care about truth. I like to unplug my.
Care about truth, or just you care about being contrarian? Sneako is just unbelievably just like, you know, it's ridiculous. Y'all need to see the part that is just ridiculous. I'm gonna fast forward to the end where Sneako really looks like a buffoon. Sneako is just all about disagreeing with the group, which is like something you go through when you're like 16, getting into politics. You want to look for what's contrary to the narrative because you want to feel like you're pursuing something true. Because the truth is it's like you want to believe deep down in your heart that only you can find the truth, or the truth has escaped everyone else. And how I know, and you justify the idea of the truth escaping everyone else by believing in shit no one else believes. But sometimes the collective group believes something because it's just objectively true and easy to believe because it's just true. That's all it is.
When a mother loses a son, if I wanted to,
You consider it, like, just be more empathetic? Is
No,
that it?
he's
Is that the
basically
point?
saying understand perspective. Like,
That's exactly what you guys aren't doing.
But-
That's exactly what both of you didn't do this whole argument,
Hey,
is understand.
hey, bro,
the thing that
I don't
triggered you
care
is
about-
understand.
I don't care about Hitler's perspective. I don't care.
So it's either understand perspective or don't.
because there's no
Hitler would-
justifying a guy who killed 6 million people.
Bro, so it's understand perspective or not, because Hitler, whether or not I understand why you think he's evil, I don't think he was a good person as well, but to not understand him, he's also a human. So you also need to understand that perspective if you're going to use that as an argument. You can't just shut him out and say, no, understand everyone's perspective but this one guy.
I understand Hitler has a perspective, but I don't agree or even want to even. Why would you? I mean, yeah, like, of course, everyone's probably wondering, why did you do it? Of course, like, everyone's like, what was your perspective on doing that? But it's like, and I get what you're saying with that, but it's like, why does it matter what Hitler's perspective is? He's a sick man. You even admitted he's a piece of shit, Sneako, right? He was evil, right? Sneako was evil.
I think he was a bad person. I don't know if he was evil. I haven't met the guy. I think he was a bad person.
What a fucking idiot, bro. Sneako, bro, how stupid do you have to, bro? How does someone killing 6 million innocent people not strike you as evil? I don't understand, like, what is wrong with Sneako? Genuinely. How can someone killing 6 million people not be evil to Sneako? Bro, how stupid can you be?
I'm done. Sneako, so you're
I think he
telling
was a
me
bad person.
Sneako, was Hitler...
But you see what you guys are doing? You want me...
Sneako. Was
Whether or not he was evil, you want me to agree...
Was Hitler evil?
Do you see what you're doing? You want me to agree with this...
You're trying to
narrative
directional
so
shit.
bad.
I see what you're saying. You're just doing this to do it. It was Hitler evil.
Was Thomas Jefferson evil?
Sneako, was Hitler evil?
What's your criteria of evil? Murder?
Look up the definition of evil.
I'm asking you. You want me to just say this so bad? You need me to say the same thing as you so bad. What is your criteria of evil?
Profoundly immoral, and wicked.
Yeah, I think he did. He did commit some wicked behavior.
So is he evil?
I don't want to say the same thing that you're saying, man. I don't.
See, at the core of it all, Sneako just wants to be different. He just wants to say, he wants to feel like he's pursuing truth. And the only way he can feel like he's pursuing truth is by disagreeing with everything else that everyone else thinks. And sometimes part of pursuing the truth is realizing that sometimes you're already there on certain topics. Sometimes you've already learned the truth. Sometimes you've already found out that 2 + 2 is 4. You move on, find something new to discover. But sometimes the information you're looking for has already been found by somebody else. It's over with. Like, Sneako just wants to disagree with other people to feel like he's on the cusp of some discovery or some sort of revelation that no one else is capable of, like, tapping into, and it's just not realistic. It's just not.
I don't want to go and I'm not going to partake in this group thing. I'm not going to go and
Bro,
do this.
You literally, you know what's funny? No, you know what's funny? I said, is Hitler evil? You said, I don't know. I didn't know the guy. And then I said, I read the definition, and you said, yeah, he was wicked. So you basically, is he evil?
I would say, but I don't want to partake in this. Like, you need to say exactly what I believe thing.
You just said it though. You just said he was evil.
This is how you avoid yourself from having actual conversations and dialogue.
Oh my God, bro. Like, it's like he's 16. It's like he's a teenager trying to, like, find his way throughout political and philosophical beliefs. Sometimes you've just already found the truth. Sometimes there's no more digging to do, Sneako. Hitler existed in a time where, bro, like, there was so much documentation of it. Like, bro, like, bro, let me know what y'all think in the comments. I know half of y'all are going to justify Sneako and half of y'all are going to be anti-Semitic, if not more. It's whatever. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.